Hello people of YouTube, it's Deepak here, and welcome to the DCS news for the 4th of October 2025. I hope you all enjoyed that, my most recent video all about dropping laser-guided bombs in the A-10C2 tank killer. Pretty much the same as you would do it in just about any other aircraft, and this same procedure, of course, really mostly applies to APKWS and Laser Mavericks and so on, although we will be touching on Laser Mavericks at some stage soon. But we've got a few more videos to come for the A-10C2, and then we'll be on to whatever the next aircraft is going to be. And I've had a lot of people asking for the F4 Phantom, so that may well be it. I guess we'll see. Welcome to the stream, Tea Kettle Barbecue, Oz Dead Meat, Tricker. Excited to see John's haircut. Give it just a moment, you'll see. Where are we again? Conquer 4. We've also got Beef Supreme, Phantom Mark, Eagle Wings, Orleans Junkie, Kalia. We've got Devil 505. What else have we got here? Delancey, Orleans Junkie, James Fenton, DCS Italia, Robbie Hobby, Darth Pirate, Tech Gaming 45, Griff Nizzle, Commander Hen Party, Hyena, Alexandra, Pink Floyd, Juice UK. Hello, everybody. Oh, people responding to the Phantom as well. Relax with Griffin. Welcome all to the stream, and also welcome the one and only John Bluer.
Hello, how you doing, mate?
Hello, welcome, sir. Welcome. And also, John Bluer, big shout out for doing my tasty thumbnails. You'll notice that the A10C videos and a couple of other videos have some updated thumbnails, and we have a brand new thumbnail for the DCS news as well, which is very exciting.
Yeah, this is my bread and butter. If people don't know, I'm a graphic designer by trade, and this is kind of easy stuff, and we've been talking about doing this for a while now, haven't we, about kind of sprucing things up a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it a go. Is we've been using my tornado art as a kind of placeholder for the DCS news, but we're going to try and, if we can, theme it, I guess, aren't we, whatever we're talking about. So obviously today, if you saw the thumbnail before we went live, it was the Rafale and the Kiowa for reasons unknown, and all that stuff. So yeah, and yeah, the hair's looking good. You know, I use a little bit of Pantene on it, a little bit of Herbal Essences. Just depends on the day, on how I'm feeling about it. You know, if it's, am I a Herbal Essences, am I a Pantene? You know, and it's just for you, Tricker, every time.
Every time. It's all for him. Nice.
The king will be pleased.
Jokater 34, welcome. Paul Dillon, Mustang, Eduardo, Justin John. We've got so many people here today. I wonder why. Is it because we mentioned Polychop? Or Rafale, perhaps?
Yeah, or both. Yeah, exactly.
Tradden, welcome. Tradden, you're not late. No, you're right on time. Come sit with us, and let's talk all about DCS stuffs. So yeah, let's get started, because the newsletter, we don't have that much going on in the newsletter this week. They're really just talking about the autumn sale again, which if you check out last week's video, you'll see we did a bit on that. That's also when we showed off their really nice autumn sale video. They always have a lovely video for their sales. Big shout out to whoever does that. I think it's
Glowing Amram.
Glowing Amram, yes.
Yeah, he's badass.
He does very, very nice videos. Don't worry, Deep, you're looking dapper yourself, says Tricker. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. He didn't want me to feel left out. He's a good lad, that Tricker.
He is a good lad.
Yeah. Tea Kettle Barbecue's doing as usual. 10 gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Tea Kettle Barbecue. This is ridiculous. You're just trying to make sure that my wonderful little list every week will be wrong. Because of course I prepare this before the start of the video, and I can't account for all of these extra ones that you give away during the course of the video. But fantastic. Thank you ever so much. I guess this is my time to do my wee call to action. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and comment. It's a really big help to me and to the channel. And if you want to join that ever-expanding scrolling list of Deepak's ground crew, you can click the join button below. For a small monthly fee, you'd be supporting me and my channel in creating this kind of content. So thank you very, very much, everyone who is able to do that. Welcome Colin Kelly, and welcome Indy Navy. Everybody's here. So anyway, yes, they're really shouting out the autumn sale again, up to 50% off. We talked about this last week. They go into a bit more detail. I guess they didn't want it to be too bare bones and just like, hey, look, we're still doing a sale. But for those of you who don't know, some of these are 50% off, and the sale is running until when?
Looks like up until the 6th of October.
6th of October?
Monday. Yeah, it's just here, just underneath the picture of the Tomcat.
Under the picture of the Tom. Oh, right, okay, thank you. Oh, well, that's, it's mentioning the Steam sale.
Oh, that's the Steam one.
On our shop until Monday, the 6th of October.
Right,
okay, so they're kind of saying it's on both. Okay, fair enough. So there you go.
There you go.
You've got your option of Steam and ED's own store if you want to have up to 50% off. And you know, go back to last week's video, you'll see me and John discussing which of those excellent deals we would recommend people taking up. I think I strangely for the helicopters gave a shout out for the Mi-8, which is a bit niche, but I do like the Mi-8. It's a really nice helicopter. And of course, you can do the whole Doppler nav thing with it. You can do NDB navigation. You can plug in the NS430 and do some GPS. Like, you can do some wild stuff with it. I have some, actually, if you check out my really old playlist on the Mi-8, I do some interesting stuff with that. I simulate some search and rescue and other bits and bobs, because it can do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's an OG as well, isn't it? That's one of the early. Is it the? I suppose it was after the Huey, but it was one of the OG helicopters, isn't it?
It is. It's originally a Bell Simtech module. It was just after the Hubert, and pretty old. It's had little updates here and there, but I don't think it's had any kind of major overhaul in a long time.
Yeah.
Tech Gaming 45 been plating up my Chinese. What did I miss? Okay, I see. Yeah. Root, welcome. Root has a question. Are you guys answering questions? Yes, always.
Of course.
We're monitoring chat. You can ask us anything you want. Whether we answer or not is another matter. But you can always ask. Polychop situation ? Asks Carmu. Patience. We're coming to that.
We'll get to it,
We have other things to discuss first.
I would say one thing I like about this little autumn sale thing that they put on here is they've done a little little paragraph on each one, and very cleverly at the end stated what the discount is on each of them. So that's actually quite useful. That's a nice my publication / copywriting what do you want to call it? Senses are tingling, and I feel like they've done a good job there. So whoever wrote that and figured out how to put it together, if that was Wags, if it wasn't, then good job them as well. But it looks very nice. And like they said, they've broken down. There's a good they've picked 3 jets and they've picked 3 what do you call it, terrains and stuff.
Terrains.
So, yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
Traden asking what do we think of the Jeff? Well, if you've been watching the DCS news all these years, you'll know what I think of the Jeff.
Yeah, you love the Jeff.
I think the Jeff is fabulous. If ever we do lose the Harrier, the Jeff will probably become my main aircraft. I very much like it. It's had the occasional strange little bug here and there, but they are. I know that they still have a developer, on the payroll who fixes those things up. So they are fiddling with it here and there. So I think it's definitely well worth getting, and there's not actually there are no big bugs with it right now that I'm aware of, but there have been in the past. Root is asking, Rafale is a good step. That guy Nick in ED, any plans to get rid of him? I love ED. Nick does not look good for ED. Well, I don't know why you would get rid of him, but I think your You're out of luck on 2 counts there, because number one, he doesn't work for ED.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
owns the publisher, which is Fighter Collection, so ED have literally no control over him. Like, I don't think ED are going to get rid of someone who doesn't work for them.
Yeah, and on top of that as well, whilst he doesn't work for them, he's a big part of it and probably
Yes.
at the top of the food chain. So, yeah, I would say I know why you're bringing this up. And this is probably down to the notorious leverage video, but I would say that what you do need to do with that video, and we did a little breakdown of it, but you do need to take an understanding that you're seeing a vertical slice of what was a very dynamic and
Long
very
and
protracted and what's the word for it? They're contending with each other. Like there's a lot of games going on there. I find it fascinating from just like I'm a people watcher and I love paying attention to things and all that kind of stuff and watching things, body language and all sorts of stuff. And I think you just need to keep in mind with that video that you're seeing like a vertical slice and you don't know what was said after and you don't know what was said before. And there's a lot that's you're seeing. It's not edited because it's a whole hour long. I mean, it's cut into 4, but it's edited as far as you're only seeing it a slice of an entire very complicated situation. So I'm not defending or condemning anyone, but I just think that's something you need to keep in mind with all of that.
I think I kind of said it at the time. I don't think that video is of any value or teaches us anything that we didn't already know. So people kind of went wild when that video came out, but I honestly don't think it's at all important or interesting.
So that's all it is, and like it just confirmed a few things. I think that's probably what it did. It confirmed some stuff that we kind of knew, but we weren't maybe 100% sure. We were 99% sure. So that's the only thing you have to kind of take from it as well. And I'm always a little bit uncomfortable sometimes when you see something which was never meant to. I mean, we say this, there's things we see all the time that get leaked, whatever. But you know, especially something like that, which is especially an internal discussion and stuff. I don't know, because it's a bit like I always say about the whole thing of like you joke around with your buddies in like a WhatsApp group and you'll joke about things and say things that you would never say in public. And so, but the context is that you're with friends and you're comfortable and you're joking. I'm not saying that's the case with this, but there's context to things. It's a bit like it's like a comedian. If they say it on a stage, a comedian is going to say outrageous things on a stage in a comedy store that they wouldn't say in the middle of the road. Do you know what I mean? Walking down the street, because it's contextual. It's like everyone's there for a certain reason. So I'm always, whenever you have these sorts of things, I'm always take it with a pinch of salt. But at the very least, whatever side you're on with that whole thing, it's not a good look in general, is it? Just if you look at it as the DCS ecosystem, that there's things getting leaked and contention and all these sorts of things, it's not a good thing, is it? So anyway,
for sure.
That's what I was calling on it.
And Roots wishes us all the very best. So thank you very much, Roots, and thank you for the question. We are monitoring chat. We are happy to provide our 10 pence wherever, or 5 shillings, if you will, wherever necessary. Sim Taylor, welcome. Darkness Temple, Luvik. Is there now a Polychop situation too? Well, this is hardly new news, but we do have some more to add. Haven't looked. Is the Hook on sale as well? I don't think so. Hook is still early access, so I would be surprised. Anyone else saying anything that I should comment on? Trading Rafale is a really cool jet, but I don't think we're going to get a fully realistic jet. Rather, the systems are going to be limited since how modern the jet is, plus it's being used by many countries. But the fact that it's being used by many countries will usually mean that it's easier for us to get documentation. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah. So just to mention about the Chinook, by the way, I just had a quick look. It's some money off, but I think it's purely early access, so it doesn't look like it's a huge chunk of money off. It's the early access discount. Yeah. So it's still a discount, but I don't know if it's part of the actual sale.
Sim Taylor saying, not interested in the Rafale per se, but if Dassault is providing data, I think of the Mirage 3 and Super Étendard with data from the horse's mouth. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. I think we'll get to the Rafale and we'll talk about it in a bit, but I think you always have to keep in mind almost every aircraft in DCS, you are getting a bit of a Frankenstein. You're not going to get, and aircraft are kind of like this anyway. It's really evident with, say, like the Tomcat. If you had, 8 Tomcats on a flight deck, the chances that they have all exactly the same systems and the same cockpits and everything was super rare. The reason why we have these sort of block or suite definitions is it's a standard, but a standard is to be met by and not a model. So you're going to see lots of different guts and things. So every aircraft we get is kind of a little bit of a Frankenstein. And then on top of that as well, like they're always going to be, like a good example would be like something like the AMRAAM. You're probably not getting exact ranges and performances for good reasons. So even older ones. So yeah, you're getting pretty good simulations of things, but yeah, you're always getting a little bit doctored.
Yeah, actually, I believe, although I don't have that much data to back up my opinion, but I believe the simulation of the aircraft are generally quite good.
Yeah.
Like, especially things that are fairly generic, like, the electrical systems, hydraulics, pneumatics, the engines, etc. All of this, I think, is actually very good. I think the flight models are also very good. I think once you get into the dynamics of things like air-to-air missiles, however, I think even ED themselves would admit that what they're doing is plausible, not necessarily realistic. But that's fine. Again, we're in the context of a game here, and I think they're certainly more realistic than anything else you're going to see on PC. I think we're generations ahead of what War Thunder is doing here, for example.
This is the best you're going to get for consumer grade. Until we get another competitor, this is the best we're going to get for consumer grade. Yes. So unless you're getting into the kind of commercial grade stuff and beyond industry grade stuff, as far as accuracy of simulation, this is going to be the best thing you're going to get. Outside of that, I would say one thing I've heard by many people, and I've spoken to some dudes who've done who are real pilots and have flown things in real simulators. Graphically, DCS is like a million miles ahead of anything that you'll find in commercial applications.
Yes,
that's because that's not what they need. They're not going to. It makes sense because they're not going to put that necessarily. They're not going to put those resources into that. They're more interested in making sure they 100% accurately represent a certain aircraft, because then how can you train someone on it? But it's about what your priorities are. But with DCS, a lot of them have said, "Oh, DCS looks incredible. Like I wish it looked this good. Nothing looked this great." So
yeah, absolutely. Root is asking us some more questions. Jeff, new blocks incoming. As far as we're aware, the answer to that is no. We don't believe DECA has. Well, very, very early on in the development of the Jeff module, they did say they were open to the possibility if they got enough information. However, it wouldn't seem likely because they're now developing the J8, as I recall. Any updates on Eurofighter? Short answer, no. Nothing whatsoever. 3, any EW suites or planes in development? EW is a pretty big thing. DCS doesn't really simulate EW particularly well. And depending on the aircraft, the interference that EW creates on the radar scope is there. So you have it in the F-15 Strike Eagle, if you can get your hands on one of those. You have it in the Viggen. You have it in the F-14. You have it in the F-4. Do you have it in the F1 as well? I feel like you've got it in the Mirage F1 as well. So you've got certain elements of it being present. But for the most part, really all they're doing is saying, okay, whatever this SAM system's normal range is, you can now lock on at 80% of that normal range when the noise jammer is on. So we're not getting an in-depth simulation of EW here. And no, I'm not aware of any airframes being developed.
You get like a bit of burn through, like you said. You can like the way you can like say the jamming pod, the DECM on the Harrier. Like it just means you can get a bit closer before they necessarily fire on you. Generally speaking, depending on variables. I mean, if you want to see something at least in a game that kind of does a bit of that, there's VTOL VR, and there's that really cool, like it's like a Tomcat meets a Growler. It's literally like it's really cool, which is, to me, is like the coolest thing ever. But they've got like a Wizzo or an Ewo seat in the back. And actually, some people have said it's not a gazillion miles. At least the effects of it aren't a gazillion miles off kind of what EW does. So if you don't want to buy that, or you're curious, you can watch some videos on it. If you look up VTOL VR, they've sort of simulated it to a degree. The tricky thing with EW is it's extremely classified stuff, like extremely classified. That is probably the one thing that like militaries are the most cagey on. So that's, like any documents that do get released for public consumption, you'll notice they'll just be not even present in them, or they're just heavily redacted. They just won't include them. So yeah, EW is a weird one. I think the closest we may get in the future in something like DCS is they'll simulate the effects of EW, but not the machinations of it. So it'll be about, it'll be like effectively a dice roll, or that kind of system where how it works with the EW, rather than like you see the effects of it as it probably would be close to, but how it actually works and the simulation of it would be very basic. And that's because they have to be extremely careful. I always quote, I think Wags himself said this, he said, anything that we do, if a black sedan pulls up at our door and a man in a black suit comes to me and says, where did you get this? He says, I need to kind of tell them. That said, though, with the F-35, when they're like, we've just watched some, what is it? We've got some data from was it flight, what's it called? Like, expos and stuff. And they're like, yeah, we're just simulating it. We're kind of connecting the dots. That was the only thing that kind of undermined that a bit. But yeah, I do believe it, especially with things like weapons and stuff. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, EW is a weird one.
If you are looking for a game that has what I believe to be the best simulation of electronic warfare that I've seen, Command Modern Warfare. Although it's a completely different kind of game. But that has the best simulation, actually, of sensors and comms and all kinds of things that I've really ever seen. Because they're simulating the data links, the uplinks, they're simulating electronic warfare, other kinds of interference, all kinds of mad stuff. So it's a very cool game. West Point saying, time to finally bury that topic, not make videos that no one would ever fully understand. It's unhealthy for the DCS community. Could you expand? Because I literally have no clue what you're talking about.
Yeah, what topic was that? We've caught that probably in hindsight. It's probably referring to a specific thing. If it's Razbam, yeah, I agree. I just want it over and done with. We kind of bring it up because people bring it up, but
it's interesting and people are talking about it. Relax with Griffin. Are you going to set up interviews with any third-party devs in the future? Short answer, yes. I'm already talking to people. Nothing finalized yet. I don't have any dates for you. But absolutely, we are doing that. West Point, I would really like to see APKWS in the H64D, but I've read ED has zero plans to add them. Wasn't that integrated in the Echo, not the Delta, or am I wrong?
The way that ED approaches is they say that they basically simulate an aircraft as a snapshot in time. So the snapshot, I think, for the 64 is late 2000s. I think it's like 2008, if I remember rightly. And APK, whilst it was, I think it was maybe being used barebone at that point, APKs didn't really become into, at least in Army Aviation, late 2010s did APKs become like super well known. I think I remember, again, I'm quoting someone, but I think I remember Casmo saying that like, they were kind of expensive early on and they didn't really want to use them unless they absolutely had to, kind of thing. Yeah, 2008. So yeah.
Venom says lame.
Lame. Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, this is why, there's nothing to stop someone. I'd be really curious to see if someone could just mod it on. This is again my argument for a mod manager and the ability for people to join a server and it just downloads mods, because someone could just be like, I want APKWS for my Apache. I'm running a server. I'm just going to mod it into my server, and then when you join my server, APKs can be loaded. And I'm sure that's just like a Lua script.
Absolutely mod the loadout, so you can put the pods and the rockets on an Apache Will the
Yeah.
Apache's avionics be capable of firing them? I don't know, because that varies
Yeah.
from module to module. Some module makers are not very stringent, and they don't do that many checks in their avionics, so they'll kind of let you launch anything that you can put on the plane. I would suspect for the Apache, this is an absolute guess, but I would suspect that ED are doing a bit more careful checking of what you've loaded on the aircraft. So I would imagine you can put it on, but probably can't fire it.
Yeah. But again, if a mod maker, I'm sure there's people who tinker. If you're watching this video either in the present or later on, let us know. Let us know in the comments. Let us know. Can you, if you can, with a bit of Lua scripting, and does it, if it self lasers, do the APKs, capture the laser? I can imagine it's probably would, wouldn't it?
I've put them on the Jeff, and the Jeff can fire them.
Yeah. So there you go. So that's all someone needs to do is just stick them in a pod, because it's on the Blackhawk, the APKs, that Blackhawk mod.
Yes.
You can't self laze, but other people can laze and they definitely capture. So yeah, it's doable. It's what I mean. This is why I think this would help a little bit when it's something as simple as just like a rocket loadout.
Yeah.
And it just get people off ED's back. But ED is tired of it. Like, no, for the 18th time, we're not putting them on. Like, I remember, was it Wags on one of his videos? I can't remember which one it was. He was like, no, we're not doing it before you set all the bot. It was the nuke, wasn't it, for the MiG 29?
Right.
He was
That's
like,
right. Yeah,
no,
he got it in there quick.
yeah, he's like, before you say anything, we're not going to put it on. Leave me alone. Don't ask. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it makes sense. And it's same with the Stingers as well. Like, I guess that's probably a bit harder, but the Stingers are on the Blackhawk mod.
Yeah.
So someone could mod it.
I guess the thing is, like, APKWS is probably one of the easier ones to do because they are lock on after launch. So the reality is, as long as you can get it out the tube somehow, once it's in the air, then it's being controlled by the weapons model. So at that point, it will work. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Still want Stingers on the Poochie, says Venom.
Yeah, I'd love Stingers on it. Yeah, I agree.
Alrighty, jumping back to the newsletter. So yeah, we have all the information about the sale, and we now have Back to BFM Virpal Controls Tournament. Back to BFM returns as the second major installment in Virpal Controls competitive series in DCS World, now featuring 3 separate tournaments for 4th generation jets, helicopters, and warbirds. All battles take place on the Caucasus map in intensive 1v1 guns-only duels, putting pure flying skill and tactical decision-making to the test. Each tournament runs through qualification, group, and knockout stages, with structured formats to ensure fair, high-stakes competition. Registration is open until the 11th of October, 2025, and new pilots may enter one or all categories, provided they can commit to the full schedule. Champions will claim Virpal Controls discount codes and DCS modules, with prizes for the top 3 in each class. Check the full tournament details here. And that's it. That's all that we had for the newsletter this week. It's a fairly quiet newsletter week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to queue up a wee image here, actually, because our boy John Bluer got me a nice wee image for one of the things. So yeah, we're going to talk about the positive story first, and then we're going to talk about the less positive story. So I'm sure you all know what's going on. Oh, Conked, I saw you playing War Thunder, you silly goose. I also play War Thunder. I think War Thunder is fun.
It is. It is very fun, and I have softened on it over recent years, or recent months, probably is a better way to put it. But it can also still be really annoying because there's people who are obviously absolute sweat lords, and they just know every spot on the map and all that kind
angle,
of stuff. But
every distance. It's terrible.
But
West Point clarifies he was talking about Razbam, so I think he's basically saying he's had enough of people talking about Razbam. Honestly, it's a big thing. We've lost 4 modules. I don't think it can be underestimated. However, I think I made the point at the time. Every simulator has this problem. Like, I don't know how many X-Plane modules I've bought that have subsequently been abandoned and don't work in the current version and so on. So, in the sim world, we just need to get used to it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it, and not this soon. Especially when it's over a fallout. But if say like a developer was to just disappear and something was kept along and they didn't have the code. I mean, they tried to. This was the Hawk thing, wasn't it? They tried to keep the Hawk going for as long as they could, and eventually it withered away. But stuff like that happens. There's not a lot you can get around it. It's just I think I get why people are annoyed. Also, I understand, Wes, when you're saying about how it's just fatigue. I get it. It's fatiguing. It's just like, really? Can we just move on? So, no, I understand.
And that's a very smooth transition. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Perfect, why are we looking at this page, John? Why are we looking at Dassault Aviation's page? Because they have these modules for Microsoft Flight Simulator. We already have Jaguar and AlphaJet, and this is made by Azure Poly, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
officially licensed. They announced that the Rafale is also coming to Microsoft Flight Simulator, we believe also from Azure Poly. And then after that, we got this, which is very, very exciting. And actually, I should give a big shout out to How I Play, because that's actually how I learned about this via the very smooth-voiced Andre Celeste. We learned all about this. So whether you're curious about the world of simulation or a passionate virtual aviation enthusiast, this section is made for you. Start discovering our iconic aircraft on Microsoft Flight Simulator with DCS and X-Plane coming soon.
Yeah. I mean, it makes the MSFS and X-Plane thing makes sense, because we were talking about this before we came on stream. I said that, yes, obviously they're different games and they're coded in different ways, but effectively the application is the same. For them to say that they're going to do DCS is quite the jump, because it's a much higher bar. Obviously it's weapons is the big thing, and then the next thing is that generally speaking, that you're going up against people like Heatblur with the Eurofighter.
Yeah,
and it's not like your surroundings are low hanging fruit. You've got to raise your bar to these guys. So if they're going to do a Rafale, they've got to do a pretty good job. I always look at this, because even if when people say, "Wow, I'm not really someone to fly a Rafale," it's like, yeah, cool. I completely agree with you. I always say there's three arguments to the things that if there's an aircraft in DCS you don't like. First one is it's more people in the game, more people putting money into the game, which generally means the game is going to be supported for longer. So that's always good with more variety. Modules are good as well, because whilst we've made the argument about maps, and there is definitely an argument about maps causing problems, mostly about splitting the player base, modules don't. Like, modules just generally, like, they probably add, even if you don't buy the module, it probably adds like 600 megabytes to your install for the textures and the third, what do you call it, the basically it's basically textures and modeling for the external model
is not going to take up much space.
No, it's just probably just textures and an external model and libraries and stuff. So that's about as much as what it would be. And then really the other thing you always have to look at this in is always look at it in like a surroundings, a periphery. So first of all, that you've got a major an actual aircraft manufacturer, Dassault, who are now saying that they want to do stuff for DCS. So that's huge, right? What knock-on effects does that have?
Am I right in saying that previously the only aircraft manufacturer to directly license something was Textron?
Yeah, Bell Textron with Polychop, who we'll get onto later on with the Kiowa. So it's because like anything, if say ED are like, oh, we've got a officially licensed module now in DCS with Dassault, then if whoever else comes along, I don't know, Eurocopter or Airbus or whatever, they'll go, oh, Dassault did it, oh, we'll do one as well. It is immediately, like any of these things, it starts to open up more and more possibilities. And then the other thing I'd say is just in general, like, I mean, if we're getting more modules like it, I mean, we know that Azure Poly have worked on the Alpha Jet and the Jag for MSFS. Yes. If they have a good experience adding this, I mean, I would imagine this is probably more complicated than the other two. So, Alpha Jet's awesome, because the Alpha Jet not only is a trainer, but the secondary role was ground attack. That jet was literally like, oh, if it goes hot, this is what it's going to be used for.
You're mentioning the wrong one first, John.
I know. I'm getting to the best bit last. But the best bit is they did a Jag. And even if it's a baguette Jag, I'd still love a Jag. Yeah. Le Jag
The
would be
Jag.
so pretty good.
The only sad thing is like the Jaguar is well known for only being able to take off when fully laden if the curvature of the Earth will allow.
Yeah.
And the French version sadly has an even less powerful engine than the RAF version did. So
I heard that when they wanted to refuel at certain altitudes, they had to ask the tanker to go into a shallow dive so that they could keep up with the tanker, because the is it the Ardor engines? I can't remember what it is. Whatever the make engines was just so underrated. I think it took until, was it the GR3A? I think that was the one that was uprated, and finally, almost the last RAF iteration kind of had the engines it should have always had, kind of thing. But notoriously
it got better, but it was well known for being a little bit underpowered. West Point, thank you very, very much for joining the ground crew. A new member. That's the 11th new member during the stream. That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for your support. Ozdead Meat says Boeing. I guess you're referring to the Chinook, because actually wasn't the Chinook officially licensed as well?
Yeah. Look. I'm going to say it. I want Sikorsky so that we can get the Comanche. I want a Comanche. I want that secret helicopter to be a Comanche. It's never going to happen, but that's what I want.
Yes, crazy. Tech Gaming 45 also mentioning that the Jag had no autopilot of any kind. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Actually, I remember that being a pain in the arse for pilots of the earlier Harriers as well, which also had no autopilot.
Can you imagine? Because that's the thing is, it's not, you think, I can still fly it, it's fine, but if you're flying for hours and hours and hours, and it's not even a simple thing like an attitude hold or an altitude hold, god damn, that'd be so exhausting.
I was reading the Harrier Boys, and it was like the original Harrier, I guess whatever version it was, they were supposed to do a demonstration in the US, and so had to fly west over the Atlantic with multiple air-to-air refuelings. So a long flight, multiple refuels, no autopilot.
Yeah.
That must have sucked.
Must have absolutely sucked. And Sim Taylor, sorry, I just saw what you said. Yeah, and also with access to Dassault, they get the most accurate data for the aircraft. That's a great example of, well, you're not getting third party and scraps. You're not scrapping around on the internet. You can go straight to the manufacturer and be like, what's it do with this? And they go, here you go. Here's the actual official handbook, So, yeah.
Yes, indeed. So, that was the fun bit. Then we have the slightly less fun bit. If you've been watching Polychop's Discord, you'll have seen that it's been sort of descending into madness somewhat. We've had a lot of people being a little bit upset because it kind of looks like Polychop is... I don't know I was going to say dead. They're not dead. They're just not
defunct.
Talking to anyone. Yes. They don't seem to be talking to anyone. They're not active in their Discord. They're not active on the forums. There was that forum post, was that last week or the week before? I forget now, that we drew to everybody's attention where people were kind of asking ED if they would step in, basically, because they're like, hey, the Gazelle in particular has all these bugs. We've reported them like a year ago. Nothing is happening. We can't get in touch with anybody. We also, of course, knew that a number of the developers, I think basically all the developers, had left Polychop at some stage. There had been accusations of them not being paid, and we now have like a kind of official notice being filed in a Stockholm court. This was back in May this year, asserting that... is this on behalf of one of the developers or multiple? I don't exactly know.
Yeah, so it's all this is in their general, right? Because what's happened, I'll give some context. It's like a shop being open, and there's not a manager. There's no staff. It's just there.
Yeah.
So what's happened now is the old staff who left have now basically come back into that Discord and have been like, okay, like we've seen what's going on. They seem very angry about things, understandably, and they have basically piped up and said, and because there's no one home, they've basically piped up and said, this is what's happened.
Yeah.
So they've thrown around, it's all allegedly, this is all accusations, but they've said that basically none of them got paid, and they claim that the owner or the lead or whatever you want to call it, CEO of Polychop, I think he's called Sven, has just walked off and has not paid any of them, and there's all sorts of stuff. And then one of them at least has popped into Discord and has screenshotted his legal letters that he is sending to said or only left Polychop member.
Yeah.
Since then, what's hilarious is so one thing worth mentioning was they all left, including their old community manager. They get a new community manager who's like, "Don't worry, guys, we got it all sorted," and he quietly quits.
Yes. Yeah. I noted that person left as well.
He quietly quits, and yeah. So and now because there's literally no one in that Discord, it's gone into the Wild West now. So you can go in their Discord and you can look. There's some. I'm happy to tell. I'm not happy to tell people, but there's like some spam bots that haven't even been dealt with in there. In the Discord, and apparently there are people saying that they've let certain people at ED know, and apparently some people, again, this is all allegedly, they've heard nothing back. So it's very alarming. I mean, we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now, and I told people, based upon what I saw, to be very careful. And I actually, this was my own personal opinion, I told people, do not buy a Polychop product because it looks like there's no guarantees it's going to be supported. Mm-hmm. That definitely looks like the case right now. Hello, yeah, here we go. So we've got Juice in the chat, who is one of the former Polychop guys, and he's just said his NDA expires at the end of November. With a book available for digital download.
Yes, indeed.
Wow.
Exactly. I imagine we're going to hear a lot more about this kind of stuff. And yes, something to say here is that this formal notice letter, if you want to see, I'm not going to post it up, but if you want to see this, you can look in Polychop's Discord under General and you will find it.
Just scroll up. It's there.
Yeah, it asserts that this developer in particular has not been paid and has not received any of the financial information, because they're supposed to have shared with them like sales figures and so on, so that they can kind of verify all the numbers. In effect, nothing has been provided recently.
Yeah. So if what they're saying is true, the ex-developers, it sounds like that they have not been paid for their services rendered, and what is left of Polychop is now AWOL. So as of right now, here's the good. It's not much of a good news. Here's the silver lining, the very thin silver lining to a very dark cloud. The very thin silver lining is that the Kiowa was released very feature complete. Yeah. It only had some very minor issues when it first released, and they were immediately patched. I am aware also that the code it's very well written code, but it's well put together to a degree. There's some issues with some bitmaps and stuff, but generally speaking, as far as the actual code, FM and all that sort of stuff, it's very kind of well put together. But like any module, with every patch, if it stays static and the game is being patched and continuing, it gets left behind. So obviously, with every new DCS patch, there's a potential for new bugs to appear. So the only silver lining I would say is I only flew it literally like a couple of days ago. It's still generally fine. There's some stuff that there are starting to get bugs that are starting to accrue, but for most things you're going to be doing, which is going to be flying around using the MMS, firing Hellfires, doing all that kind of stuff, it does it fine. How long that's the case, nobody knows. But yeah, that's all I can say for people who own it. If you don't own it, do not buy it. Do not touch it for now. Just wait.
Yeah. It'd be good to find out what's going to happen. I own both the Gazelle and the Kiowa, and I really like both. I think they're fantastic modules.
I love them. I love them. Yeah.
But yeah, of course, this uncertainty is not great. I just want to give a bit of a shout out to Tech Gaming 45 there, someone who has a long memory, clearly, mentioning this is a bit like the MiG-21. That's like very, very ancient history at this point. The MiG-21, the development was originally started by a guy, I think his name was Betzel or something like that, a Hungarian guy.
Yeah.
And it got part of the way through, and then he disappeared with all the money.
Yeah.
And then the other developers in the project basically just decided to, forego that money, continue developing it, and release it. So that that was kind of cool of them to do so. Obviously, this is a little bit of a different situation. Also, I wouldn't equate this to the Razbam situation because this is very, very different. This looks very much like internal mismanagement. I don't mean the developers. I mean the management of Polychop seem to have very much done things that they shouldn't be doing, it would appear. The Razbam situation is very different. It's very contractual between Razbam as an organization and ED.
I would argue that if this is what I think this is, Razbam is very messy with lots of contractual things, and there's about 5 different moving pieces, and there's very much a chess game. If this is what I think this is just cut and dry that people haven't been paid for their work.
Yes,
and it's not really very complicated. And I think it's pretty awful. And it would be very clear. I would imagine even the ex-devs will say, I'm putting words in their mouth, but I would imagine they would say, this has got nothing to do with ED. They've been fine with us, blah, 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 blah. This is our own issue. So that's the vibe I get. I'm going to put words in their mouth. But yeah, I would say, I wouldn't equate the two. They're two very different issues.
No, they're very, very different. And actually, this is effectively the 4th time we've had a situation with a third party, because of course there was VEAO with the Hawk.
Yep, with the Hawk.
We had Betzel with the MiG-21, although that kind of resolved itself, sort of. And then we've had Razban and we've had Polychop. And as I said before, if you look at other simulators that have third-party devs, this is not at all strange. In fact, if anything, I would say that DCS has had less of this kind of problem than most other sims have had. But it doesn't make any difference. Nobody wants to be seeing any of this at all.
It's really important, like you're saying, Deep, and you raised a really good point there, is it's about looking at this within context and looking at the wider situation. Everyone likes to think that their game, their chosen game, is the worst ever, and their developer is not doing anything and doesn't listen to them and doesn't care until you go to the next game and then they say the same things. But they will claim that other games have it great and we don't. There's a little bit of that going on. Look, I think DCS has problems. I think ED has problems. I think this third party, the biggest question mark I have is this perpetual system of updating old modules is not financially viable long term. Because what you have to do is you have to create a new module to pay for the old module upkeep, but then now you have 2 modules to upkeep, so now you have to make a third module, and now that third module needs to pay for the upkeep for not only itself and can you see how this goes? This is an what's the word for it, a exponential issue every time you create a new module.
Anybody who works in software development knows this very, very well. Every line of code that you write will hold you hostage for the rest of the time that you need to maintain it. You as you add complexity, as you add lines of code, as you add products, the maintenance time increases and increases and increases. So it is a very, very tough problem to deal with, and it's a problem that all software development organizations have to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there's 2 ways that you can deal with this, and we've seen one already employed in DCS, which is things like the Black Shark 2 and the Black Shark 3.
Actually, kind of smart
like the F5
to do that.
Yeah.
The problem is it doesn't remove the problem entirely, because ED does still needs to maintain Black Shark 1 and Black Shark 2. So to a degree, they've given themselves extra lines of code to maintain, but they have given themselves an extra income at the same time. So, helps a little.
Yeah. And then the third way is or the second way, sorry, would be some sort of subscription model that you have, maybe the way you would do it is you'd say after X amount of years that a module is alive, if you want it to continue, you might need to have subscription. Problem is you bring the word subscription up and it immediately gets heckles up and people get extremely, hang on a minute, I've paid $80 for a module, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but after 3 years, that money runs dry for that module. And at that point it's not no longer financially viable. My question answer would be, what do you want? Do you want to not pay a single more penny and that goes away? Or if there's some sort of agreement which is stated when you buy a module, that you get for $80, you get the module for say 4 to 5 years, say 5 years. Let's say we'll guarantee you get support for 5 years. After which, though, we may bring in some sort of additional pack to keep it going, or it will only run up until 2.9.3 or whatever it is.
This is the solution. This is the solution, because if you think about it, this is what pretty much every other simulator does. If I buy a module for Microsoft Simulators FSX, I don't expect that module to work in 2020.
Yeah.
I have to buy it again. And although Microsoft have said 2020 and 2024 modules are interchangeable, we know they're not. We've seen that they're not. And sadly, module makers have had to take the hit on that one and actually give people 2024 versions for free. But this is how you do it. You say, okay, this is a DCS 2.9 module. And in the future, we might sell you a DCS 2.10 or a DCS 3.0 version of the module. We're not going to guarantee that this will work forever, because some of the modules, again, think about the MiG-21. We've mentioned the MiG-21 a few times now. That's been out for how long? Like more than 10 years, I feel like. I don't know.
Easily more than 10, It's got to be, surely. Yeah.
It's been out for an immense amount of time. That still works in the current version of DCS. Now, the amount of development time that must have been spent on maintaining that module has to be ridiculous. And I wonder if at some point, due to diminishing sales, if there's a point at which they're just making a loss on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say that there's a couple ways you can get around this, right? So someone brought up earlier on in the chat about Polychop having poor communication or having issues with communication. I think it was Mikey. Now, funny enough, I know because I was very close to Polychop at this point. Around the Kiowa release, just before and after, actually, I would say that Polychop was in a very good state and they were being very communicative. And I actually think for a lot of third-party discords, in fact, a lot of people had very direct access to the developers. A lot of places I've been for games developers, generally speaking, they have a general rule of don't ping a developer or we'll boot you. Like, you're not allowed. You can't. You can talk to a community manager. If you've got an issue, talk to a community manager, but you cannot talk to developers. And developers would maybe pop in like once a week and say hi, and that'll be it. Whereas Polychop, they were very direct, and they would explain to people and sit them down and go, here's what you do. They also had Burundus, who was this massively amazing kind of resource of information, who was also this really, I say friendly, he was extremely sarcastic, and it's fucking hilarious, some of his responses sometimes. He used to say, I don't believe there are no dumb questions. You will ask me dumb questions and I will tell you they're dumb, but I'll answer them for you. I'll just might tell you they're dumb.
Yeah. And that's fair enough.
Burundus was like, he wasn't just a Kiowa pilot. He was an instructor and he was very knowledgeable. And he was this fantastic kind of like oracle of information. So Polychop had this really good thing. Now, if you can turn around to people and say, look, after say ED turn around and go, look, after 3.0, and I'm coming up with an argument here. After 3.0, you're going to have to pay maybe an upgrade to get the 3.0 version because we've had to port it over or whatever. We'll give you some money off discount. I think that's fair because you can say, look, I mean, like you said, MSFS have 2024 version and you don't get to bring your old modules along. And if they do, what happens is a developer will be like, we've ported it over, but you're going to have to pay for it, even if it's maybe it's an upgrade package, or you might have to just buy it all over again. The reason why I bring up the community thing is that if you know, right, here's a really interesting thing, right? If you know who you're talking to, and there's a name or there's a face to the name, right? Even if it's metaphorically a face to the name. If you're like, oh, these developers are really involved with people and they chat to us and they explain their processes, and this is why like devlogs are really cool and interviews with them are really cool. Yes. Then you'll kind of bring that goodwill, and people go, oh yeah, he's a great dude. He's really chatty with us. He's really friendly. Blah blah. That's really cool. I'm happy to pay for this new module because these guys explain the amount of work that they do. The curtain's pulled to the side. And you go, oh yeah, I'm happy. Now I know how much work these guys do, and these guys are great, and they're really friendly. They've answered my questions, and they've been really cool. People are generally going to be like, yeah, no, I don't mind paying that $30 because I know it's going to that. Especially if you know it's going to developers, right? If you know like the guy who's coding that module is going to get paid for that, you're like, awesome. There's this real kind of direct. You almost feel more like a patron than you do, than just you're just buying something. You're supporting someone. But yeah, I think that's the thing you need to do. I've always made this argument. I'll say it once, I'll say it again. WAGS is like one of ED's like most potent, like at least from a community management perspective, whatever you want to call it, a PR role. They need more people like WAGS. I'd say WAGS is great. He's cool. He does what he does. They need more faces to names and people they can talk to. And the CMs are you got Nui and Nineline. They're like. I get like old like cops 3 days from retirement, Danny Glover vibes from those guys, because they've probably dealt with all sorts, and they're like 3 days more to retirement, and they, I can just picture them like
too old for this shit.
Too old for this shit, and they've been doing it for years, and like, you know, can you only imagine some of the things they get. But yeah, to get some faces, you know, involved in it would be really good, like humans that you can connect with.
Yes.
And so that's one of the strategies you can use to try and get past this initial reticence for people to pay more for things if they know who they're going to.
And on the kind of updating the modules and selling those updates kind of one, ED are actually the only module maker doing it right now, and I think the third parties should consider it. I'm thinking about Heatblur. You know, Heatblur have, I don't know how many times they've kind of revamped the Viggen at this stage. It's getting a bit ridiculous. So, you know, Heatblur must have put serious development time and money into that Viggen. Are they still recouping that? Hopefully, but I don't know.
I hope so. Yeah, and you can't look at the work that they do on their modules. You know, this is what goodwill was so important. Like, if you got goodwill, like, Heatblur are fucking awesome. And then they do, like, an update for the Viggen. They add all this cool stuff, and they add, like, you know, physically based rendering for the PBR textures. And so you're like, holy shit, it looks amazing. Like, you tend to be like, if someone said, look, we're just going to ask if you could pay $10 for this upgrade, because it helps pay some stuff. And if you explain it that way, I reckon 95% of people are going to be like, yeah, sure. No worries. Yeah. You know, you make it affordable. You know, problem is, if it's $80 again, all over again 3 years later on, then people are going to be like, hang on a minute, you know, wait a minute, you know. But if you go, to be fair,
this is what ED have done. You know, if you already own the Black Shark or the F5 or whatever else, they give you that cheap upgrade rate. So, yeah.
So, and speaking of Polychop, there was plans. I remember seeing this in their Discord that they were going to do like a Gazelle 2 Mark II, where they were like, "Oh, we want to add like the SA341."
Yes, I did.
You know?
I read this one because they wanted to integrate a bunch of weapons for export variants with that as well. They were going to give us. I think they were going to give us like gazelles carrying iglas and all kinds of mad stuff.
Yeah, because it's like random, export variants and stuff. And then like the British, what I love is like the British variant, we're supposed to have the most advanced, and most of our variants just had like a GPMG, maybe a couple rocket pod, that was it. But yeah, like, you know, it would be cool to see, you know, all those different, and they were like, look, we want to do this not only just because it would be really cool, you get some additional variants, but it also allows us to basically, it pays for the maintenance on the module. That's mostly what that's doing. You know, adding these things aren't too crazy. It's just mostly like refactoring like an engine and some other slightly different cockpit and stuff. But they were like, look, this is something we did. I remember when they added that iPad, it's on the front, which is really cool, and they were like, we want to do more with it, but obviously didn't get round to it for obvious reasons. So yeah, you know, I think like Oz is saying, the Car 50 V1, V2, V3, you can still run the old ones and still run it on an older version of DCS, but for the newer, you know, shinier stuff, I think these little upgrade packs, I think they're pretty fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
Haven't seen things from both sides.
Tricker. Don't make fun of people who like trains. Trains are cool, okay?
Trains.
I like trains. Who doesn't like trains? Come on, really? I'm a big fan of Derail Valley and a bunch of other stuff. Yeah. Anyway, we're not going to talk about trains because this is the DCS news.
Yeah,
Fools.
and you said there was some amazing voluntary livery designers. Yeah, so like what the is it Miss Punt, and was it Shaft, PRM Shaft? There was some amazing stuff that was then put into the game as well. So they got like some community guys who did some amazing work on the liveries for the Gazelle, and then they ended up getting put into the game, which was really, really cool. All those new ones, if you looked at the Gazelle refactor before we got the Kiowa, all the new really detailed British and, you know, French and especially Gulf War liveries were all pretty much all community stuff, and it was so well done. It was really cool. I love stuff like that. I really like the whole community thing. I know it was a bit of a sore spot after they encrypted the F5 model, and then went, we're going to encrypt it, and then also we want you to do a livery. And I keep joking about this, but I swear someone up top at ED were like, oh, for fuck's sake, why did you do that? But I think the whole community livery thing and community like competition sort of stuff and getting stuff in games, I love stuff like that. because people you get a sense that there's, even if you're not in it, you just get the sense as a community is kind of injecting directly into the game and stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Nice. Alrighty. Well, I think that's everything we've got news-wise for this week. I'm going to take this opportunity, as I generally do, to pimp ye olde VAF. So let's go ahead and do that. The VAF, or the Virtual Air Force, is a virtual online squadron originally started by myself and Dot Chuckles many moons ago. We fly on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays at around about 8 p.m. UK time. We're always looking for more pilots. We currently fly the Harrier, the F-16, and the F-18, although we're also always looking for people to do air traffic control, mission making, livery making, scripting, and all kinds of other stuff. Check out the Discord link in the show notes below. If you want to come join us, you're welcome on the Discord whether you fly with us or not. So that's the VAF, or the Virtual Air Force. Okay. I'm just going to quickly check chat. What is everybody saying? Tech Gaming 45, I offered my Hello Kitty livery, but he said no. Oh, yes, indeed. Shirt McLean, welcome. You are sadly late, yes, but you can rewind. That's permitted. Ozdead Meat, so when do we get access to the Discord for being members? All members do have access. Check out the YouTube posts. There is a link in a special YouTube post that only Deepak's ground crew members can see. So go and check that out.
Yeah, it's important to say that. So when you become a member, when you go to community posts in YouTube, you then see like stuff you wouldn't normally see, and then in those posts will be a link to the Discord if you're a member. Yeah, so that's how you get access to the Discord.
What he said.
Yeah.
So you've been John Bloor. If people want to follow you and support you, they can go to twitch.tv/John Bloor and click the appropriate button. John, what have you been up to this week?
As far as
making my
streaming,
thumbnails.
as part of making your thumbnails, so I've been doing your new thumbnails. Apart from that, fuck all. I've been busy with other stuff. So streaming. Obviously, I finished up the Naked Option merch, which was cool. For now, that's kind of we've got the Star Wars scroll here now.
This is Deepak's ground crew, by the way, minus the 11 who just joined tonight. So this was accurate before the stream started.
Yeah. But yeah, so at the moment, not a lot. I was going to do some more DCS, but I'm kind of still... I say I'm waiting for... I would say I'm waiting for Dynamic Campaign, but I'm going to be waiting a long time.
It's supposed to come this year.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, yeah, hopefully. What would it look like is the question. I think probably what I'll do is... Oh, we might need a new link there. There you go. That's what we might need to post.
Right, while John's talking, I'm going to go fix that.
Yeah. You can do a permanent link, by the way, Deep. When you share it, there's an option to have like a permanent one. I can't remember how you do it, but it's when you do an invite link.
Let me see if I can fix that.
That's fine. But yeah, no, I think I'll probably start streaming a lot more again for at least DCS. There's what they call Strike Package Studios, who do Contention, which is a very popular sort of PvP server. They announced a little while ago that they were doing a PvE version, and I think it was called Incursion, if I remember rightly. And basically it's their shot at that. It's basically their shot at a grey flag. I'm kind of grey flagged out. I used to do the grey flag servers like all the time. I don't have it in me anymore. It's a bit like, do you know when you hear that Slim L's like Team Spirit by Nirvana for the 18th millionth time, and you're like, I don't need to hear that song again. That's kind of me with grey flag. Nothing wrong with it. It's a great song, and Grey Flag is a great server. But I've done it. Been there, got the t-shirt. So yeah, I think I will once Strike Package Studios bringing out that PvE server, because I'm more of a PvE guy. I will probably be streaming a lot more. So yeah, but for now, pretty quiet.
Nice. I have sent a post into YouTube community for Deepak's ground crew with a link to the Discord that will never expire. I actually didn't notice that option before. So there you go. Sorted.
Yeah. Well, cheers, Oz, for bringing that up, because that means we fixed something. So there you go.
There we go. We're getting shit done. So yeah, I've been Deepak. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and comment. And if you'd really like to further support the channel, you have the option of joining Deepak's ground crew by clicking the join link below. And you'll then appear in this list that's currently scrolling past me. But yeah, every Saturday at around about 6:30 p.m. UK time, I post a new tutorial video. Currently, I'm doing a series all about the A10C2. There'll be more of that next week. And most likely, I'm going to follow that up with some F4 Phantom love because people have been asking for it. And honestly, the module is superb. So it's about time I got on that one. And that's always followed by the DCS news, which just happens to be this thing, what you're watching right now. Thank you all very much indeed for watching. Fly safe, and I'll see you next time. Ta-ta.
Cheers, guys.